We on? You ready?
Yep.
Here we go. Basically, the most important female reproductive organs are the ovaries, which are right here. They kind of sit inside the female's body cavity. This only shows the left one. There's one on the right side too. Women have two ovaries. And the ovaries produce eggs. And tomorrow we're going to learn the whole process of how the egg is produced. That's the menstrual cycle. Y'all figure out what's going on there. But basically, about every month an egg is produced in the ovary, and it is ovulated, kind of squirted out of the ovary, and it's pulled in by these little finger-like structures here. They're called fimbriae. And they kind of move like this, and so the egg comes out of the ovary, and these little finger structures pull it in, and they pull it into this tube, and the tube is the uterine tube. It's also called the oviduct. It's also called the fallopian tube. Why does it have so many names? It's the same reason why they call me Mr. Willis, Tom Willis, and DJ Grandmaster T. Some things just have several names. So anyway, the egg kind of moves slowly through the uterine tube. There's cilia inside the uterine tube that move it along, little hairs that pull it along, and it starts moving this way. And it'll move a little ways down here, and then it'll die. The egg will die after about 2 days, unless it's fertilized by a sperm. So the sperm cell, when the woman's having sex, the sperm are released into the vagina. There's the vagina there. And the sperm swim up through this little hole right here. It's called the cervix. The cervix is the entrance to the uterus. This big container right here is called the uterus. And what it is, it's a muscular sac. That's where the baby will grow if the egg is fertilized. But the sperm have to swim up into the uterus, and then some of the sperm swim up into the right fallopian tube, and some of the sperm swim up into the left fallopian tube, which will be coming out at us in this picture. And so, and then the sperm, if the sperm make it to the egg, there's a chance that the sperm can fertilize the egg. And if they fertilize the egg, then the fertilized egg continues to survive, and will be pushed further down, and then the fertilized egg will eventually implant itself in the uterus here. And that's a pregnancy. And then the baby will start growing inside the uterus here. And the walls of the uterus are real stretchy, so they can expand. And that uterus in a pregnant woman will get huge. It'll get way out here. I mean, that big, way up. And that's why the woman's stomach sticks out a lot. It's not their stomach. The baby's not actually in the stomach. It's in the uterus. I had a student one time ask me, why doesn't the stomach enzymes digest the baby? And I said, it's not really in the stomach. I thought that was a cute question, because you think about, hey, the stomach, the baby develops in the mother's stomach. It's in the uterus. So, anyway, so there's the baby in there, and then when the baby's born, it has to come out through the vagina, which also will stretch to let the baby out, but I hear it's very painful. I'll never know. So, ladies have to deal with that when they give birth. And so you've probably heard of an operation some women can have. It's called having your tubes tied. You ever heard of that? If a woman doesn't want to have babies anymore, they can get an operation called a tubal ligation, where the doctor goes in there and cuts the tubes and ties either end of the tubes off, so that it prevents pregnancy in two ways. The sperm can't reach the egg, and the egg can't reach the uterine tube. So that's what's that?
Could they just staple it?
I think they tie it. Maybe they do staple it. I don't know. But anyway, that's to prevent, a woman can get that operation to prevent her from getting pregnant anymore. There's another operation a lot of women have. It's called a hysterectomy. And what that is when the doctor goes in and he takes out the uterus and often the ovaries too, and the fallopian tube, takes all that out, and then just ties the end of the vagina shut right there, or stitches it shut. So it's just a closed-in tube that doesn't go anywhere. The vagina would be at that point. The reason why women get this operation is because the walls of the uterus and the ovary and the fallopian tube tend to get cancers and other infections and problems very easily in women. So if there's a sign that woman is getting ovarian tumors, which is a cancer on the ovary, or uterine tumors, or some other problem, has bleeding down here where the walls tear and stuff, and has really bad cramps or something. Cramps are caused by the walls of the uterine muscle here. Sometimes women get that hysterectomy done. That's a very common operation nowadays. After you've had your babies, you don't really need any of this stuff anymore. And the doctor can go in there and cut it out. And I think they take it out through the vagina. I'm not exactly sure how that operation goes. I don't know that. But anyway, I know it's a simple operation that's done a lot. And it's a pretty quick recovery time for women, however they do it. They don't have to open up the woman too badly, I don't think. But, so that's that. Now the labia, they're flaps of tissue. Do you remember when I talked about the guy, our caveman ancestors were naked, and they'd flop on the ground, and to protect them, they had the prepuce, the foreskin that covers the end of the penis so they don't get infections? That's exactly what these labia are. They're skin that covers up the urethra. That's the urethra there. That's where women pee out of. And that leads to the bladder, and that's the bladder there. And the urethra, you don't want to get bacteria and dirt up in your urethra. Bacteria will start growing in there and cause an infection, either a bladder infection or a urethral infection that could be very painful and could kill you. So you don't want infections. And in the vagina, too, you want to protect that area. So that's what these are for. They're called labia, and they're just skin that protects the vagina, because our caveman ancestors just sat down on the ground. And nowadays, since you wear clothes, you're a lot less likely to get infections when you sit on the ground like that. But that's what those are for. Now, the clitoris, you'd be interested in this, that is basically a penis. Women actually have a penis. It's just really small. It never developed. If you look at a fetus of a baby in the womb as it's developing, they can get pictures of these things with ultrasound. And in every males and females, hanging down is a little thing that looks like a penis. And if you didn't know any better, you'd say, oh, it's going to be a boy. But in some fetuses, and half the fetuses, it stays small and ends up as the clitoris. And in men, it gets larger and becomes the penis. And so that's just an organ for sexual stimulation in women. You know, if you're going to continue the human species, you got to have sex. And why have sex? Well, you get pleasure from it. And the pleasure comes from the clitoris in the females and the penis in the males. And it feels good, so it makes you want to do that again. And so our caveman ancestors just didn't think too much. They just went by whatever they felt like doing, and that felt good, so they did it. And here we all are. So it's a good thing for that. Those are the female parts. A lot of women get infections in the vagina. There's various problems. You've probably heard of a yeast infection, which is a yeast is an organism that's related to a fungus that can infect the vagina. Women have to go in constantly and get checked to make sure they don't have any infections or cancers or other problems with their vagina and cervix, which is the entrance into the uterus there. Because, again, those can become easily infected and cancerous and stuff.
Is that why they say Lady Gaga has a pink?
I didn't know they said that. But
They all say she said
I didn't know. I don't think so. I think that's something else. So you want to see what this looks like if you go inside of a person and open them up surgically.
I thought I heard something like that. Yeah.
That's a uterus. And the oviduct is coming down here, and that's an ovary. The white thing. He's looking for any tumors or problems or something. There's the ovary. Isn't that great? All right. We're going to do that next time. This is another look at the yeah, tomorrow we're going to do that. This is the uterus here, and then the two oviducts. Again, you have the right one and the left one, or uterine tubes. And there's the ovary, and there's a little oocyte, an egg that's being released. They call the release of an egg ovulation. And then that egg will be pulled inside here. Go down the tube. Here's the vagina. The sperm come in through this part, that's the cervix. They go up into the uterus and swim up there. There's about anywhere from 300 to 800 million sperm will enter the vagina when people are having sex. So not all of them make it up here. A lot of them die in the process of trying to get up here, but some of them do. And it takes about several hundred to eat away enough of the outside of the egg for one sperm to get in. Remember, sperm have those little acrosomes that have enzymes that they release onto the egg to eat away the surface of it so they can get in. This is just some tissue that kind of holds it all in place, and you can see the blood vessels there. There's a lot of blood vessels going to the uterus, and when a woman has her period, it's because of the breakdown of some of these blood vessels. Blood comes out, and so do cells come rushing out. And we're going to talk about that process tomorrow. Question?
When people say that the sperm actually fertilizes the egg, what is it doing? Is it actually fertilizing, or is it breaking it apart to release an egg?
It actually, the sperm has a little, every sperm has a little head on it, and
They say they look like tadpoles or something.
yeah, there they are. That's a sperm. It's got a head on it here, and it's got this little cap on it called the acrosome. The acrosome holds enzymes that eat away the outer part of the egg. And then this blue thing right here, that's the sperm nucleus. That's got the DNA. And so what happens is that thing is pushed into the egg cell. So you got your egg cell, which compared to a sperm is real big. It would be like the size of a real big beach ball.
Does an egg cell already have a nucleus inside of it?
Yeah, an egg cell has its own little nucleus that only has half the number of chromosomes. It needs another set of chromosomes. And so the sperm comes in, and if the egg was this big, the sperm would be, about this big, and the sperm kind of pushes its way into the egg, and then the nucleus comes off, and now you have the egg nucleus and the sperm nucleus. And somehow they find each other. I'm not sure how that happens, but they become one nucleus.
What does the midpiece do?
The midpiece holds a bunch of mitochondrions. You know what those are from your biology studies? That make a lot of energy to make the tail wag. Move back and forth. We talked about this stuff last time, and you weren't here. But and this is all stuff about the uterine cycle. Breast cancer. Talk about that tomorrow too. And a bunch of different. Oh, here. This is kind of cool. That's a vasectomy operation. You see there? They go in and they cut the vas deferens, and there they've tied it off. So now the guy can't have kids. And here's the tubal ligation. They go in there and they cut, and then they tie the ends off. There's different ways. You can cauterize it, which means you kind of burn it shut with like a laser. You tie and cut it there with string, I guess, or thread. And then you can band it too, shut. Isn't that interesting? Of course, these are living tissues, so sometimes they'll grow back. But usually not. And I told y'all last time my buddy had a vasectomy that repaired itself.
That's not
And
good.
so his wife got pregnant not too long after the vasectomy. And he thought his wife was cheating on him. She wasn't. It was his kid. Vasectomy healed itself.
That's cool.
All right, so I have
We all good here?
I have ID sheets.
You could probably stop recording at the vagina.